This is Feed Your Mind, and in this video, we're going to cover Paradise Lost because this book is very interesting. It seems to fill in a lot of missing pieces of the puzzle when it comes to the fallen one and what kicked off the war in heaven and what happened with the Garden of Eden and some very interesting information when it comes to the whole concept in general of what was going on before the fall of man. And so they say this book is a piece of fiction literature. It's written in poem format, so it's kind of hard to follow if you want to read it for yourself. So I'm going to break it down for you in this video in regular format so it's easy to understand. So I was wondering if it's possible this information was maybe this author making educated guesses based on the apocryphal books and the Bible and filling in the gaps, or was it possibly inspired, or was it possibly even channeled? That's some of the questions I had after coming across the information about this book and what it details. So the book pretty much starts off with Satan in heaven, and he felt like he had a rank that was higher than the other angels, and it sounded like he pretty much thought he should be ruling in heaven with God. And so he was beginning to rebel against the rules of heaven and was able to gather a third of the other angels to support him in this movement. And they decided to wage war with heaven in order to overtake it. And so this did not go as planned, and they ended up getting beaten and cast out of heaven. Satan and all 1/3 of his followers were kicked out, and the gates of heaven were closed, and they were not allowed back, and they were placed in this dungeon area called Tartarus. And that's where they were. So when they arrived at Tartarus, they realized they were in a prison pretty much, and they were removed from the book of life, and they were down about it for their loss. And Satan had to encourage them and tell the ones that got kicked out with them, he was telling them to actually embrace this and be proud of their removal from heaven, because he saw this as an opportunity to continue their plan and possibly succeed eventually. And so the other fallen ones were saying, no, they don't think that's the case here. They think that they should repent and try to find a way back into heaven, and maybe they can be forgiven, they were thinking. And Satan insisted that no, that's not the way to go about this. He was telling them they're going to have to find a way to accomplish their goals. So they considered another war in heaven, and they were saying, no, it doesn't seem like that's even a possibility at this point. So one of the fallen ones, called Beelzebub, had spoke up and said he overheard a plan while he was in heaven, and he heard of a plan about this place called Earth and the creation of humanity. And this piqued the interest of Satan and the others. So they explored this option of possibly finding this Earth and corrupting it and destroying it as a way to continue their war with God. So they all agreed that this was probably the best way to get revenge and to continue their plans. So Satan began to explore this Tartarus area, and he came across 9 gates that was containing them in Tartarus and keeping them from escaping. So as he explored these 9 gates, he ended up running into these 2 entities, sin and death, and he thought he could help them. Well, he thought he could get them, convince them to help him break out of Tartarus. So he began to explain to them his plan, and as he explained to them his plan, Sin and Death asked him if they recognized him, and he said he does not recognize them. And they explained to them, well, they explained to Satan that they are actually his children. They are his offspring from his situation in heaven when he rebelled against the Creator. They're saying that they were formed as the embodiments of sin and death, and that of course they would help him try to break out of Tartarus. So they showed him a way to this place of darkness and said, well, this could be an escape route out of this place. So Satan journeyed through this darkness and ended up coming across this entity called Chaos, and Chaos was able to help him create a portal that would give him access to Earth. So I'm wondering if this portal that they are talking about could be from the bottomless pit, maybe where this portal leads to this center of the Earth, where they're saying this energy is, that could be kind of like a portal possibly. So anyways, he went to this portal and was able to stumble across Earth, and he explored Earth and started looking around, and so he transformed himself into a bird and started looking around Earth, and he came across this angel that was on the Earth. And so Satan decided maybe he could get some information out of this angel, so he transformed himself back into an angel of light and was asking the angel for information about this place. And this angel saw him as an angel from heaven, because he didn't know that he was the fallen one, because he disguised himself. So this angel began talking with him and told him about this place called the Garden of Eden, and that God had placed his special people there, Adam and Eve. So Satan took that information and said, okay, thank you, and began his journey to the Garden of Eden. And so as he stumbled across the Garden of Eden, he was able to transform himself into various creatures like toads and, like I said, birds and other animals to spy on this Garden of Eden. And as he was spying, he got caught because the angel that gave him the information had a bad feeling about who he gave the information to, and thought he might have been tricked. So they had a battle, and they told him to get out of there, like, you're not allowed here in this garden and even on Earth. So they kicked him back to Tartarus, and they reported everything to the other angels, and they decided that they better warn Adam and Eve that there's this fallen one lurking around in the garden. So they went to Adam and Eve and warned them that you be on your toes, and be aware that there's a fallen one out here that's spying on you. And they warned them not to eat, warned them again not to eat from the forbidden tree, and told them about the importance of free will, but to use it wisely and to make sure that you're following all of God's orders. So as Satan regrouped down in Tartarus, he found his way back onto Earth, and this time he transformed himself into a snake. So he began spying on Adam and Eve again and lurking in the garden, and until a point where he saw where Adam and Eve decided one day that they should separate to get double the work done in half the time. And Adam agreed and said, okay, let's do that. And so they parted ways, and this was Satan's opportunity to influence Eve to sin against God. So he took this opportunity when she was alone and seduced her to partake of this forbidden fruit. And she was hesitant at first, but he continued his plan and said, it looks like God is trying to keep a secret from you guys. It's looking like he doesn't want you to eat from this forbidden tree because he's trying to keep secrets from you. So he eventually convinced her to partake of the forbidden fruit. And so she did. And after she did, she began to realize that she messed up real bad. So Eve ended up going back to Adam because they had parted ways. So she found her way back to Adam, and Adam could tell what she had done because she was different, and she explained what happened. And Adam loved her so much, he decided that he would partake as well because he didn't want to lose her. He had just been alone for so many years, and he didn't want to bear that loneliness again. So he decided that he will partake as well so that whatever fate awaits them, they will remain together in their punishment. So he decided to partake. And then that's when God came and confronted them about what they had done. And they explained what they did, and they said how Satan had tricked them into eating from the forbidden fruit. And so God said he has to punish them. And so he explained that from this day on, Adam and Eve, you're going to have to work much harder for your food. You're going to have to work all day just to eat. And that's interesting because to this day, a lot of people are working all day just to get the basic living needs. So I'm wondering if that's possibly the punishment that's still going on to this day, how society is set up to where, we have to work so hard just to get by, a lot of people. And also he punished them to, the woman was going to have to experience increased birth pains because she's the one who initiated the forbidden fruit, the sin. So that was a punishment for the women where they would have increased birth pains. And then also they said, God said the weather would change where it wouldn't be the perfect weather every day now. It would actually be extreme hot and extreme cold a lot of times. And that's another one to this day where I've noticed that some years seem to be like extremely hot and then extremely cold in the winter, because it's some years seems to just skip spring and fall and go directly to the extremes. Not every year, but I've noticed some years where it just seemed like the weather was acting like that. And so also they were sentenced to have a limited lifespan, so they would eventually have to that's when death was introduced into this earth. And like I said earlier, death had helped Satan on his journey to find and discover Earth. So sin and death was able to be a part of this earth now. And to this day, people have limited lifespans and continue to sin. So also, he said the wild animals will begin to see them as food. Some wild animals will. So we see that as well to this day, where we see these animals that can be dangerous, and some animals actually will consume humans to this day. And that was said to be a result of this fall, of this punishment. So that's interesting. And then Satan was sentenced to slither on his belly as a snake and cast out of the garden. So that's where in my previous videos I had discussed how it's possible that this snake form he was in was a serpent, more like a dragon. Some call it the Nakash or something, where I've determined that it's possible, like if you saw those Chinese dragons, they might have wings and 4 legs. It's like a serpent creature. If you remove the legs and the wings, it becomes a snake that's slithering on his belly. So maybe that's the form he had to embrace. And as he was kicked back to Tartarus, he looked around and saw that all of his other fallen angels became snakes as well. So, like I said, and then also sin and death was allowed to remain on earth because of what had happened. So let me know your thoughts on this literature. It's an interesting piece of literature. Like I said, it doesn't seem to be just completely fiction. It seems to be, at the very least, it seems to be at least something where the author probably was familiar with the apocryphal books and the Bible, and just kind of, maybe he filled in the gaps, like I said, or was he inspired, or was it channeled, or was it just maybe just some literature he put together? I don't think it's just like they try to dismiss it as completely fiction. It just seems like he put thought into it at the very least, like kind of maybe just thought like, okay, what could have happened? Who knows? I mean, let me know your thoughts about this book in the comment section, description box. What you think about this book, Paradise Lost. I'm also going to leave links if you would like to sign up to my free email newsletters, or there's some cool stuff in my Feed Your Mind store you might want to check out. I'm also going to leave links to my social media and my other channels and much more. I'm also going to leave links if you would like to support this channel. You can donate as little as $1 to help keep Feed Your Mind online. I also have a channel, a YouTube membership button here on YouTube. Your support's going to help me get much more documentary style videos out, plus keep my website up and all types of expenses like that. So your monthly support is appreciated. So thank you for tuning in. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. This has been Feed Your Mind signing off.